Charles Halt.
They claim that something from outside the Earth's atmosphere landed at their Air Force base. They went and stood by it. They inspected it. They photographed it. The following day they took tests on the ground where it had been and found radioactive traces.
One of these trees is facing an blast, what we assume is a landing site, all have an abrasion. You're right about the abrasion. I've never seen a tree that's, never seen a pine tree that's the damage reactive. I've got a bottle to put that in. Yeah, you got a sample bottle?
I think it's fairly well known that Colonel Halt and his team examined the landing site very carefully, both the damage to the trees and the 3 indentations found on the forest floor where this metallic craft was seen to land.
While Deputy Base Commander Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt and several fellow officers were investigating the alleged landing site, he also witnessed multiple UFOs. This event was captured on Colonel Halt's own pocket tape recorder.
Well, we've got an object about 10 degrees directly south, 10 degrees off the horizon. And the ones in the north are one's moving away from us. Moving out fast. One on the right, the wind too. Yeah, we're both heading north. Okay, here he comes from the south. He's coming toward us now. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal.
The United States Air Force position is that there was a sighting on the base, witnessed by both high-ranking officers and base security police. However, according to the United States Air Force, military personnel mistook a stationary lighthouse for a UFO.
3 competent Air Force guys saw it, told not to ever talk about it.
When he returned to the base, Airman Kabanzig was ordered to report to Colonel Halt for debriefing.
He asked me what I saw out there and what happened, and I believe I told him, and I was told to sign some paperwork stating that what I saw out there was just the beacon that was out there, and that there was nothing out of the ordinary.
What did happen over a period of 3 days at Bentwaters? Did a UFO actually land at a U.S. air base in England?
That is one explanation, that it actually happened, as Colonel Halt reported. The other explanation is that it didn't. And in that case, one is bound to assume that Colonel Halt and all his men were hallucinating.
The British Ministry of Defence's position is that nothing that took place at Bentwaters was of any defense interest. This view is criticized by former Chief of the Defense Staff, Admiral Lord Hill Norton.
That the colonel of an American Air Force base in Suffolk and his merry men are hallucinating when there are nuclear-armed aircraft on the base must be of defense interest. If indeed what he says took place did take place, and why on earth should he make it up, then surely the entry of a vehicle from outer space, certainly not man-made, to a defense base in this country also cannot fail to be of defense interest.
The public position of the Ministry of Defense is that UFOs pose no threat to the defense of the realm. Well, I quite understand such statements, and indeed during my tour of duty I probably wrote statements like that.
From 1992 to 1995, the British government employed Nick Pope to investigate UFO reports. He now differs with their position.
While it's true to say that there's been no overt hostile action, it certainly seems to me premature to say that there is nothing of any defense significance when you don't know what they are.
Georgina Bruni has been researching the Bentwaters incident for over 5 years. Her book, You Can't Tell the People, is the definitive account of this case. In May of 2001, she was one of the first to receive a number of previously classified documents from the Ministry of Defense about the Bentwaters incident. These documents are known as the Rendlesham Files.
In one of the first documents in the file, we have now in black and white that General Gabriel who was the chief of the United States Air Force in Europe, was handed taped evidence.
Why would General Gabriel, one of the most important members of the U.S. military in Europe, be handed evidence for the incident unless it was of extreme significance?
The other significant factor is that this is not ufologists talking here. We have the defense intelligence staff carrying out their own investigation and admitting that the radiation readings were 10 times higher than normal.
One other document released in the Rendlesham files is this defensive press line issued by the MOD instructing the authorities how they should respond to the media. It states that MOD was satisfied that there was nothing of defense interest and there was no question of any contact with alien beings.
When I talked to Margaret Thatcher, the former Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, about the subject of UFOs, she said, you have to have the facts and you can't tell the people.
We were told not to talk about it, so we didn't. What we saw out there was definitely unidentifiable.
In the southwest of England, just outside Somerset, there was another sighting. It was captured on videotape.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I think it's coming this way. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. Is it? It is. That's amazing. The UFO that you saw originally was spotted approximately about 200 yards to the left of the aerial mast, and I suppose it was probably at about 500 feet up. It was very low in the sky.
And this is a radio communications tower?
This is radio communications. They've got 3 military masts on there, and it sends out, one is a navigational signal, which is used for aircraft. The other 2 aerials are near the top. We're not quite sure, but there is a pulsed frequency that comes from them. The actual UFO, from the time it was first seen by Rod Dickinson, who did the filming, it lasted approximately 12 minutes, so it was quite a long period of time for a daylight sighting to occur.
We took this tape to be analyzed by Lucasfilm's Special Effects Division, Industrial Light and Magic, in San Rafael, California. Here we met with Bill George, an Academy Award-winning visual effects supervisor. Over the last 20 years, his special effects have been featured in films like Star Wars, The Phantom Menace.
The optical zoom certainly would...
He analyzed this footage to determine its authenticity.
But there are several things that I see when the footage is running that tells me this was actually there when this was filmed. First of all, it's the shake. Okay. The shake. If you were to give me a background plate of just the sky and say, we want you to take this image of a flying saucer and match it in, that's something that's technically very difficult to do because you would have to match, putting the 2 elements together, you would have to match the shake. Now, certainly we have computers that can track that, but this is all over the map. A couple other cues that tell me that this is actually there when it was being filmed was that it's going in and out of focus with the background, because the camera is trying to compensate and trying to focus. It probably have some sort of autofocus. So the background is going in and out of focus along with the object. There are these dark things flying through frame, and if someone was to have to put that in there, they would have to composite it in behind the birds. It would be a technical problem.
Bill George couldn't say it was a real UFO, but he could confirm for us that the object was not added in later.
Given those clues, I'm convinced that this object was there when this person was taping.
In 1968, the UFO subject was being debated at the highest levels of government. The debate was triggered by a major sighting over the state of Michigan.
I could see the light on either side, and then the red light was sort of casting a glow over the whole thing, so it looked like a round disc.
When it got to the top of the trees, it stopped, and a blue and a white light come on. Good evening.
Walter Cronkite reported the incident on CBS.
Residents of the area saw it. The police saw it. Sergeant Newell Schneider of the Sheriff's Office remembered it well enough to draw it.
What do you think it was?
Well, if they